It's essential for survival. Hi there, Cara. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Cara Cunniff, thanks a lot for joining me today. On the sofa, we're going to have a fireside chat, literally. And we're going to talk, amongst other things, systems. But I think before we do that, and just to address everybody, is, Cara, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how you got into property, first of all, before we maybe get into a different type of topic. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Richard. Well, thank you for having me here today. So my background actually in property started at the age of 6 when my parents separated, and my mother bought and sold properties throughout the 80s. So I was inspired watching her, and by the time I was 18, I'd lived in 12 properties,
Okay.
right from the sort of 2-bed masonette, which was our first property, all the way through to a penthouse in West London. So,
Right.
so I really watched my mother transform her life through property. And at the age of just after university, actually, my mother gave me £5,000 and said, right, it's now your turn.
Okay.
So I bought my first property, and actually this was a property I lived in. It was a 2-bed apartment in Aldershot, and I rented it out to I lived in one of the rooms, and one of my best friends lived in the other room. So she paid the rent, or she paid the mortgage, I should say.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And from there, I have just bought and sold properties throughout my, I suppose, last 20 years or so.
Yeah.
It's a bit scary when you say that. And I have also, during this time, and it's really been a mainstay for me, property, because I'm married to the military, so we have lived all over the world. We've lived in 4 different countries, and with the military, I have alone moved 12 times in 20 years.
Okay.
So property has allowed me to have an income, and one day, we will have to buy our family home, which we haven't got at the moment.
Okay.
So that's where it really started, was that I knew one day I was going to have to buy my family home, and then it grew into actually a portfolio of property. We focus on what I'd say is sort of high value apartments, mostly in the likes of Canary Wharf and Woolwich. We do have property in Liverpool. We have also a house, and we're building a 3-bed house in Farnham at the moment. And we're doing all of that from Belgium, because that's where we're living at the moment.
Okay. With the military?
With the military,
yeah.
With the military. And to just give you a little bit more about my background, I started in, my first career was in consulting, so in business consulting. And I love business, I love systems, I love efficiency. So my focus and my outlook in everything I do is about how can I make this as streamlined and efficient as possible. And also I served with the Royal Engineers as a reservist officer for 5 or 6 years. And so a lot of the way I approach things is through military precision.
Okay.
So, and I bought and sold various businesses as well. So I have a very diverse background, and all of that coming together has put me in a position where I've just founded a company called Property Precision. And the aim of the business is to develop property investors to work smarter and to build performance into their organisations, so that they can save time, so that they can save money, so that they can build on their businesses and really build strong base for their business. So a very diverse background.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, what a great story. And I think it's amazing, isn't it, to have a role model that you did with your mother.
Oh, absolutely.
So and then she sort of seed-corned, invested into you to get you going. Then left you on your own, I guess. Is that right?
She did, and actually she lives in Spain now, and has a wonderful life. And I remember looking back and seeing her make decisions that at the time I didn't agree with.
Okay.
When we would all look at a property together, and I remember one particular property I absolutely loved, because I could envisage my bedroom. I had already chosen the wallpaper. But my mum absolutely, no, it's not the right one. We're moving on. And I just go, please, can we live there? Please, can we live there?
But you were thinking more as a home.
Yes, I was thinking of it. And for my mum, well, it was a home. It was a home for us. But actually, in the back of her mind, it was also about her building her future.
Of course.
Which she did very successfly.
Yeah. I guess that, sounds like you had a lot of change, by the way.
Yes.
Both in childhood and obviously with the military, but married to the military, as you say.
Yeah.
So I guess that is a constant in your life.
Yeah, change is my constant.
Yeah, we did have a little chat, didn't we, before we started filming about that. And I think that's probably going to be really useful when we get into that kind of how you cope with that. Constant change. I think you can probably give me a few tips, actually. I'm looking forward to that. But so it's a really good story. So a couple of things that really resonate with me. One is the whole business, treating property, whatever you were doing, as a business operation. Clearly, you seem to share that outlook. I think the other thing that really appeals to me is the precision or the system side of it. Yeah. But as I shared with you, it's not exactly my personal strength. But I heard it when we talked beforehand that maybe there's some good news there. And you probably know where I'm going. But I think you've got a sort of an outlook or a methodology almost, haven't you, in terms of how you look at this. Do you want to share a little bit about that outlook?
Yes, absolutely. I should say first of all that the company values, our values are engage with precision, take control, and then set yourself free.
Okay.
And I think it's really important to see it within those three stages. And
precision, control,
and then freedom.
Yeah.
And it's a long term. It's a long term view.
Yeah.
And I think within the property industry, with the complexity and the speed of change that we've gone through economically, socially, politically, as we see this week, there are changes afoot, and we need to be able to adapt to them. We need to be able to embrace them, not be fearful of them, because they are going to happen. And if you are in the property industry, you are not going to be able to sell properties just like that. You have to be able to run with what's happening. And something that I've been developing over the last, I suppose in my career, except I've really been developing the insights recently, is about an ecosystem of performance. And it's really important that businesses don't just set themselves up as businesses, they set themselves up as a performing business. And what I mean by that is we have 6 hallmarks. And when I say a hallmark, I'm talking of a principle and a framework that an organisation can look at, and an individual. And it's really important to think about this from an individual's perspective as well as an organisation's perspective in terms of how you are performing. Because actually, you can only manage what you can measure.
Correct.
And
Peter Drucker, is it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So and those are that stands the test of time. So it's about looking at your business in terms of how it's performing. So we have six hallmarks, 6 principles. It's about so in the military you have ends, ways, and means.
Okay.
And you start with the end in mind. So you absolutely know what your
Stephen Covey.
Yes, absolutely. And we call that clarity of purpose.
Clarity of purpose.
And purpose is a word that we've chosen really specifically because purpose is about what is your personal purpose, but it's also about what is your purpose within the context of responsibility. So are you giving back to the environment? And it's really important that each one of us individually looks at that. Are we looking at property within a sustainable context? It's also about responsibility to trades, to tenants, particularly. Are you working with a duty of care to your tenants? And it's also about responsibility to yourself. Are you looking after yourself? Are you developing yourself? I'm a believer. We are only here once, so we have to make the best of it. So it's about clarity of purpose. That's an understanding that you've got clear goals. You've set the right objectives, you've got good strategy, and we work with clients on developing that clarity of purpose. The next thing is...
Just before maybe you dive onto that, maybe, I don't know what you think about this, but the word purpose has another meaning as well, doesn't it? It's been deliberate.
Absolutely.
So I think you can play that one as well. I don't know if you do.
Well,
But-
purpose actually also flips to one of our other hallmarks, which is about being disciplined.
Okay, so maybe.
So we can
we'll
come
back
up
to
with
that
that.
one,
Yeah, we can come back to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Well, I just thought it was an interesting point. So yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
So the first one, and then the second one is about nurturing resources.
Okay.
So first of all, it's identifying the resources you've got.
Yeah.
And within the military context, that's ends, ways, and means. And that the resources element is the means. What do you have in order to achieve your objective?
Yeah. Could be intellectual property, could be finances, it could be other things, I guess.
People,
of course,
and time.
Yeah.
And time is something that I think a
Somewhat
lot of
limited.
investors, yes, well, but the question is it limited? Is it limited, or is this how we manage our time? And I would say actually time isn't the problem, it's prioritization that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's where the human behavior side of things feeds into this.
Okay.
So it's really about managing your time, it's really about being deliberate, prioritizing. And one of the things that I like to do in the business is to teach things that aren't taught. And I say that because this isn't something that's specifically taught in schools, how to manage time. But actually, time is, as you say, it's limited.
Our personal time is limited, but we can leverage it.
We can absolutely leverage it.
Yeah.
So, time is one of our resources,
Yeah.
and we really need to nurture our resources, and that means protecting them. So when we're making our decisions, as you mentioned, deliberate decisions. When we're taking the decision to build the next house or to buy the next property, are we protecting at the same time the resources that we've got, and not making rash decisions? So those are the first two hallmarks within or principles within our ecosystem of performance.
Purpose and nurturing our resources.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then moving on, it's about people being vital. And this is where prioritization comes in. This is where we look at time. This is where it's really important for investors to consider how they're spending their time. Are they spending time on the high value activities that only they can do? And
they can do, or they're best suited to do?
Well, both,
Okay.
actually. Are they doing the jobs that they are the specialist in?
Yeah.
Because there are lots of opportunities to outsource now. There are lots of websites that you can outsource on. So you've got the likes of Upworks or Fiverr, there are lots of them where you might be able to find a VA to support you
virtual assistant
to support you in those other elements that you're not necessarily that good at, or want to be spending your time doing. So it's about working on the high value stuff after being vital and working out where you are best suited to do a particular job. Actually, that also means that you've got a team that are also working, knowing what they're there to do. And this then works really well into learning and adapting. We need to be learning organisations. We need to be learning investors. And that's because we need to develop. We need to constantly be looking at what's happening in the world around us so that we are, and I'm waffling, I'm really sorry.
No, but I was going to come in, to be honest. I was going to come in actually at that point because you actually said we need to learn and develop, which I totally agree with. I consider myself a lifelong learner. But sometimes people just look at it from a point of view is I want to be a lifelong learner. It's just an interest almost. But I think where you're probably going with it is actually it's essential for survival. Because we need to be able to adapt to changes. So we need to learn what policies and rules and tax laws and things like that are coming into place. Going back to one of your other points about nurturing resources, we've had however many new laws and regulations that have come in which could threaten our business. So we need to be on top of that sort of thing. We need to develop new skills and systems, new business models in property, for example, so that we don't become that dinosaur that becomes extinct. So I think there's a purpose to the learning, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are so many fantastic books out there that feed into this learning.
Any tips for us?
I mean, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah.
It's just the most wonderful book.
Is he the guy who started with a blog? And eventually,
Okay. And he now does a 3-2-1 once a week. And every single time I read the blog, I take something from it.
Yeah.
You know, habits are, and this comes back to motivation and willpower. Actually, you know, if we rely just on motivation and willpower, often we will fail.
I usually do, yeah.
Yes.
When I rely only on willpower.
It's about developing habits.
Yeah.
It's about, and actually it's something I didn't mention before, I have done a lot of endurance sports, and that's where the business has also been born through, because I've completed the Marathon des Sables in Morocco, which is 6 marathons in 7 days,
Okay.
and lots of endurance stuff, a couple of Ironman, but through that, what you learn is that consistency is really, really important, and that ties into habit forming. You've got to be consistent in whatever you do. So if you set yourself a target, you've got to build in habits. So as James Clear talks about, habit stacking, you know, you do something. So for example, if every day you brush your teeth, and there is a new habit you want to form, then you link it with brushing your teeth, because you do it every single day. So if you have, you know, an exercise that you need to do, and you know, for me personally at the moment, I have some lower back issues, and so I link that with brushing my teeth.
Oh, that's a good idea. Good tip.
But that builds the consistency.
Yeah.
That builds the consistency, and you can do that in any form. Within anything that you want to do in the day. So it's a very easy way to develop habits. So the next two are efficient and effective systems and processes. Efficient and effective are two words that are used heavily by the military.
Okay.
And it's knowing that you're doing the right thing and then doing it well.
Yeah, so effective is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Good, I got it right way around.
Yeah.
And efficient is doing it well.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And there is no point in doing the wrong task well. It's not going to move you forward.
Yeah.
So, you know, you really do need to understand that in terms of defining systems. Systems can be as simple, and I think often when investors hear the word systems, they imagine a complex, automated, you know, I'm too small for this, I don't need systems.
Yeah.
But actually you can build systems into your personal management of time, as well as a tenant management system, for example, or a property management system. So, and even if you're a small investor, but you've got maybe 3 or 4 HMOs, you know, a tenant and property management system is a very straightforward way to go, because it helps you with compliance. It saves you time, you know, and we can talk about this in more detail.
I was going to say, maybe
I'm drilling down at the moment.
We can come back a little, we'll go back into that in the next video.
And the last hallmark, the last principle is being disciplined.
Being disciplined.
Yeah, and discipline is, I think, something that is so it's so important in the property industry, and I think the time it really pays is when it's difficult. Because when it's easy, why do we need discipline?
Yeah, quite.
When we're buying that next house, why is it necessary? But actually, it's really important when times are hard.
Just maybe as a closing thought, because getting a signal, maybe we might be getting close to the limit.
Yeah.
Is just on that point of discipline. My wife recently took a new position, and she had the interview with the CEO of the company, the business. And apparently the CEO literally said, I don't want to see any more candidates. This is the one.
Okay.
Which of course is very rare to hear that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's good for her.
Yeah.
But she subsequently found out why. And the reason apparently he said that, I mean, I'm sure there wasn't just one reason, but one of the reasons he said that was that she mentioned, he asked about her motivation, and she said that she was an athlete. And you're nodding already, knowing what that means. You know, so she was an athlete, and she reached, you know, she represented her country, for example. So to get to that level of, you know what that entails. So it's the discipline. And he said, you know, he understood immediately that discipline would lead to higher performance.
Absolutely.
This is one of the things that you've been talking about, really. So that's her, by the way, not me. So she's very good at motivating me, because of her own personal discipline. So
Absolutely.
we're a good team in that respect.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just thought I'd bring that sort of more personal anecdote into the conversation there at the end to link it. But if you're happy at this point, I think what we'll do is we'll probably take a little break right now for this first video. And we're going to come back. I think what we'd like to do maybe is drill down a little bit into some of the systems, and we'll get into that conversation of what is a system.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is that okay with you?
That's
Cara?
perfect.
Thank you very much. Join us back on the next video and we'll be right back. Thank you. I've lost my train. I completely lost
The
my
idea of
train. Yes, no, when you said that-
prioritisation.
Oh,
Unless you're French and you say Cunniff. Yeah.